Why do humans cry? At some point today, your eyes are going to water. Maybe it's the wind, maybe it's a yawn, maybe it's a scene in a movie you've already seen 3 times. But here's the thing. You are the only creature on this planet that does that last one. The only animal that leaks from its eyes because it felt something. Every dog, every elephant, every primate with 97% of your DNA can scream, howl, whimper. None of them cry, not like you do. And that's bizarre, because crying makes you worse at everything. It blurs your vision, it clogs your nose, it makes your voice break. In the middle of a predator-filled savanna, that's not an advantage. That's a death sentence. So why would evolution keep it? Why would it build you a system that breaks your own eyes on purpose? The answer rewrites everything we think we know about human weakness. Let's start with the basics, because not all tears are the same. Your eyes actually produce 3 completely different kinds. The first is basal tears. They're always there, a thin film that coats your cornea every time you blink, about 1 to 2 microliters per minute. Without them, you'd go blind in a matter of days. The second kind is reflex tears. Cut an onion, walk into smoke, get hit by a gust of wind. Your lacrimal gland floods your eyes to flush out the irritant. These are reactive, mechanical. Every mammal with functioning eyes has both of these. But then there's the third kind. Emotional tears. The ones that roll down your face when you hear a piece of music that reminds you of someone who's gone. The ones that come at 2 a.m. when you're too tired to hold anything together anymore. These tears are chemically different, and that's not a metaphor. In 1981, a biochemist named William Frey at the St. Paul Ramsey Medical Center did something nobody had thought to do before. He collected tears. He gave people sad movies and onions, caught what came out, and put it under a spectrometer. What he found changed the conversation. Emotional tears contain significantly higher concentrations of proteins, specifically leucine and enkephalin, a natural painkiller your body also releases during physical injury. They also had elevated levels of prolactin and adrenocorticotropic hormone, or ACTH, both of which are stress hormones. Reflex tears? Mostly just saline. Your body is literally flushing stress chemicals out through your eyes. That's why you feel better after a good cry. It's not just catharsis, it's pharmacology. But that's only half the story. Because if crying were just about chemical release, you could do it privately. You could cry in your sleep. Your body could dump those hormones through sweat or urine. But it doesn't. It sends them through 2 narrow ducts right below your eyes, in the most visible part of your face, in a way that is impossible to miss. And here's what's strange. Crying actively disables you. Ad Vingerhoots, a professor of clinical psychology at Tilburg University, has spent over 2 decades studying human tears. His research, published extensively through the 2000s and 2010s, reveals something unsettling. When you cry, your visual acuity drops. Your eyes lose focus. The tear film scatters incoming light. For those few seconds, you literally cannot see clearly. You are physically more vulnerable. You can't fight, you can't run. You can barely read the expression on the face in front of you. Now think about that from an evolutionary standpoint. Why would your body do this? Why would it take the one organ you need most for survival, your eyes, and sabotage them at your most emotionally fragile moment? Because it's not a bug, it's the whole point. In 2009, the Israeli neuroscientist Oren Hasson published a theory in the journal Evolutionary Psychology that reframed everything. He argued that emotional tears evolved precisely because they handicap the crier. The blurred vision, the visible streaks on the face, the cracking voice, all of it is a signal. And not just any signal, an honest signal. One that is biologically expensive and nearly impossible to fake. You can fake a smile, you can fake a laugh, you can fake concern. But producing real tears on command, with the right protein composition at exactly the right moment, almost no one can do it. And even trained actors will tell you the tears that come on set are almost always real. They have to reach for something genuine. This means crying is a trust mechanism. When you see someone cry, your brain doesn't just register sadness, it registers authenticity. It says, this person is not performing. This person is actually breaking. And because they've made themselves physically helpless in front of you, blurred eyes, open posture, shaking breath, they are giving you a choice. Help or walk away. Let that sink in. Your tears are not leaking out, they are being deployed. Your body is deliberately making you weaker so that someone else will make you stronger. So that settles it, right? Crying is a social signal, a bonding mechanism. Case closed. Well, not quite, because there's a problem with this theory, and it's a big one. People cry alone. A lot. Surveys consistently show that a significant percentage of crying episodes happen in private. No audience, no social target, no one to manipulate into helping. If tears are a signal, who are you signaling to in an empty room at midnight? Vingerhertz himself has wrestled with this. One explanation is that solitary crying is a byproduct. The mechanism evolved for social situations, but it fires even when the social context is absent, the same way your heart still races during a scary movie, even though you know you're safe on a couch. Your body doesn't always check whether the audience is there. But there's another layer. Remember Frey's chemical findings? The stress hormones, the natural painkillers? Even alone, crying still flushes cortisol, still releases endorphins, still brings your nervous system down from sympathetic overdrive into parasympathetic recovery. It still works as self-medication. So the two functions aren't competing, they're stacked. In public, tears communicate. In private, they regulate. And your body doesn't need to choose between the two. Now here's the part nobody talks about. There's a cultural filter on top of all this biology, and it's remarkably powerful. Japanese adults cry roughly half as often as American adults. Men across nearly every culture cry less than women, but the gap is smallest in countries with less gender inequality. In some West African communities, public weeping by men at funerals is not just accepted, it's expected. In post-war British culture, it was borderline taboo for anyone. The biology is universal, the permission is not, and that creates a strange feedback loop. If your environment tells you that crying is weakness, you suppress it. But suppressing emotional tears doesn't eliminate the stress hormones, it just keeps them circulating. Frey's own work suggested that people who suppress crying may retain higher levels of stress-related chemicals, potentially contributing to stress-related illness over time. The system is designed to flush. When you dam it, the pressure builds. There's one more thing. One detail that quietly changes the entire picture. Newborns scream. They wail. They turn red and shake. But for the first several weeks of life, they produce no tears. The lacrimal gland isn't fully developed yet. Their cries are pure sound. A distress signal, yes, but a blunt one. It says something is wrong, but it doesn't say what. And it works on anyone within earshot, indiscriminately. Tears come later, and when they do, something shifts. A crying infant with visible tears receives faster and more attentive care than one without. Studies have shown this. The tears add a visual channel to the acoustic one. They make the distress specific, legible. They turn the volume knob into a laser pointer. And from that point on, for the rest of your life, your tears are doing the same thing, taking a vague internal storm and making it visible, precise, undeniable. So here's what's actually happening to you. Every time you cry, at a funeral, at a film, at the kitchen table after a phone call you didn't expect, your body is running a program older than language. It's calculating, in milliseconds, that the fastest way out of pain is not to fight it, not to hide it, but to make yourself so openly, so visibly broken that the world around you has no choice but to respond. Your eyes are not failing you. They are doing the most human thing they can do. They are choosing vulnerability over vision, connection over control. They are breaking on purpose. And honestly, in a species that spent most of its history trying to look strong enough to survive, that might be the bravest thing your body ever learned to do.